So hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm doing a video on the AIRSOFT BB comparison. This is version 2. So I'm back at it. You can see we have 3 more types of BBs this time, so I'm really excited to compare them for you guys. You guys really liked the last video, which motivated me to do the second version. That is actually the second most viewed video on my channel. And it has a whole bunch of likes, so you guys must have enjoyed it. So now we're including a wider range of BBs to give you a more detailed comparison. I also have a precision scale now that is precise enough to weigh these BBs so we can test the consistency. So let's start off by saying that these BBs are ordered left to right from lightest to heaviest. You can see this one, and this one were the 3 we had last time. Now we've added 3 more. Starting off with the very left, you have your 0.12 gram low quality cheap BB that comes with your gun. Next, you have, I should probably go over it in more detail. It'll focus there. Sort of. Okay. So you can see it's not polished well at all. It's a very rough surface, and if this is so bad quality that you can tell just from looking at it, it's not round. It is not perfectly round. And you can see a whole bunch of seams, air bubbles. So yeah, I do not recommend you use this BB under any circumstances at all. What happened to my autofocus? Something's wrong. It's not focusing. There we go. Okay, next off, you have your standard 0.2 gram white BB. This BB is non-biodegradable, but it is a very nice quality, skirmishable. It is fairly highly polished and perfectly round with no seams or air bubbles. This BB was made by AirSplat. Next off, another one of the BBs we saw last year, also made by AirSplat, a 0.25 gram biodegradable BB. This is also about the same quality, which is pretty high as the previous AirSplat BB, which was at 0.2. Only difference is this one's a 0.25 and it's biodegradable. Now this is a newcomer. It looks about the same as the 0.25, but the color is ever so slightly lighter, but still not as light as the non-biodegradable. This one is a biodegradable 0.28 gram BB, and this is actually from Matrix Tactical Systems, which I bought on evic.com. So this is not an AirSplat BB. And in my opinion, the polish on this is actually a bit nicer than the AirSplat ones. But that may just be me. This is also perfectly round with no air bubbles. Another one from the last video, the aluminum 0.3 gram BB, made by TSD. It's extremely shiny aluminum, highly polished, and very round. I cannot guarantee no air bubbles, but I know that it is fairly accurate, and we will be testing that out soon. As a disclaimer, this will put extra wear on your internal parts, mainly just the barrel and the hop-up unit, just because it's metal, so keep that in mind. Dropped it. Finally, you have this monster of a BB. This was not actually an AirSoft BB designed for AirSoft. It's actually 6mm slingshot ammo. The rest of the BBs I've shown are all about 0.59, not 0. But 5.95 millimeters in diameter. This one is exactly 6 millimeters because it was not designed for AirSoft, but it is a slingshot BB. But I bought it off Amazon in a bag for like 100, I think. And I think it's really cool. So we will also be testing this out. And as a disclaimer, this will not only put even more wear on your barrel than the aluminum one, because this one is steel. Yeah, it's steel. This is also much heavier, so you will lose range. It is even more dangerous than the aluminum one, and you should already not be using the aluminum one in a battle. And finally, it will wear down the other parts of your gearbox or stuff like that as well, just because of how heavy the BB is. But anyways, that is enough talking about and looking at these BBs. Let's get to the test test to see how they really perform. Alright guys, so I've got my scale here. Precision scale measures up to hundredths of a gram. 100 gram calibration weight, and looks like we're good to go. It's changing because I'm talking. That's how sensitive it is. The air currents are moving it. But you can see we're good to go. Perfectly calibrated. We will be doing 3 of each BB to test how consistent they are. Alright, so what we can conclude from that data is that all of the BBs, even the .12s, are actually fairly consistent. Now if we had one more decimal place, that may be where we start getting into where you can really see the differences. But, I mean, overall very impressed. The .12s had an outlier, which was 0.2 grams off. And, let's see here. The aluminum .3s were actually the most consistent BBs. Only by a little bit, but they were still the most consistent, with no outliers whatsoever. So all 3 ways, what times I weighed it, it was the exact same. Just pretty impressive. So, yeah. Not much to say about that. Next test, which is probably the most important one, accuracy. I will be using 2 guns. One of them will be the CYMA AK Beta Spetsnaz that I just reviewed. So that represents the AEG side of things. I will not be testing the .12s in that particular gun because I don't want it to jam up because it's AEG with cheap .12s. And I will also be using a CYMA, a KWC gas blowback 1911, which is CO2 powered. So that will represent, the gas blowback side of things, and those have less to go wrong, so I'm comfortable with using the .12s. So I will test those out, and once again, as a disclaimer, I do not recommend you use the aluminum, steel, or .12s in a skirmish or in your gun at all, as a matter of fact, because they could damage the barrel and other parts of the gun. Let's get to the testing. Alright guys, let testing begin. I'll be shooting onto this homemade custom target. Check the description below for more details. I will make a separate video on that. First off, I'll be using the 1911 KWC gas blowback CO2. Going from lightest BBs to heaviest. 5 shots from each BB. From each gun. Yeah, not much to go over. We're going to go at about 10 feet. Keep in mind, accuracy is not defined as, or at least in shooting, it is not defined as where the BBs are hitting, because that can be adjusted. It's more defined by how close the BBs are together. So it could be hitting, say, a feet above, but if they all hit the same place, it's still accurate. So let's get to it. 10 feet. Shooting from a rested position. Semi-rested. Alright, so, the grouping, not the best. Let's see if we can do any better with that .2. Alrighty, so now the .2 out of the 1911. So there you go. Big difference from the .12. So the .2s did much better. Let's try the .25s. Biodegradable. Alright, so that's actually a tiny bit wider group than the .2, but that may be partially shooter error. So, take it for what you will, but, I mean, don't look at this as a definite way, since I do not have, like, something to hold the gun perfectly still. I am still shooting. Alright, so, now, 0.28 gram biodegradable. So, let's go back and shoot. Sorry about the background noise. Huh. It only shot 4. That's interesting. But that's probably just me loading up poorly or something. I don't know. So, but I think 4 is enough. You can get a general idea of the group. Alright, now for the 0.3 gram aluminum, because I am totally British. That is 5 shots. Okay, so the group on this one actually wasn't that good. I wonder if it has something to do with the aluminum bouncing off the barrel or something. The metal barrel, metal contact, I don't know. It may also have to do with how that metal interacts with the hop unit. Finally, the 0.89 gram steel. I really don't know what's going to happen here. I don't know if the BBs will even hit the target. They might just fall short, even though we're only at about 10-12 feet, just because it's so heavy, but we can try. This is not an extremely powerful gun, averaging somewhere around 350 FPS. What happened here? So we have 3 drops drop low. And then the rest, I don't know what happened. I know for a fact one of them had a feeding issue and it fell out of the end of the barrel. Thinking that has something to do with the metal on the hop-up unit. Probably not working too well. But, I mean, from this 3, screw it. Nope, 3 is not enough. Load it back up with 2 more shots and let's go try it again. Well, not try it again, but keep going more. Okay, so I loaded up 2 more. What? How do I still have another shot? Okay, there's still a BB in the chamber somehow. Well, let's try this again. Yeah, the hop-up unit really doesn't like these. There we go. That one definitely hit. And there you go. Now on to 0.2s in the AK Beta Spetsnaz AEG. This gun shoots around the same power range of the 1911, but it is an AEG. I'll just shoot off quite a few rounds. I won't be counting really. And as I already said before, I'm not testing the .12s because I'm afraid of them jamming this gun up because it is an AEG. I'll be using the laser sight to help me aim because all this gun has are crude AK sights. And there you go. We had one fall low, but most of them landed in about the same place. It actually made a pretty nice hole. Alright, now for the biodegradable 0.25s. I've tuned the hop down a little bit because the last 0.2 is shooting a bit high. Okay, and I actually only wound it up a little bit, so that's as much as we could shoot. But roughly the same grouping as the 0.2s. Made a nice hole. Now for the 0.28 bios out of this AK. My laser sight is dying here. It's so dull. I mean dim. I think the batteries are about to go out. Hold on, gotta get in a good scale. Alright, so we're seeing fairly consistent groupings across the board with all three BBs we've tested. Now let's see if that will change as we start moving into the metal BBs. Alright, so I'm fairly excited to see the result of this one. The 0.3 gram aluminiums. Once again, I'm totally finished. Alright, so these are actually extremely consistent. Almost slightly more consistent than the plastic ones. So I don't know if maybe it was either shooter error for in the 1911, or if it was just that particular hop unit. So that's quite interesting to me, because these have the tightest groupings yet in the AK. Alright, and now for the final accuracy test of the day, the 0.89 gram steel slingshot ammo. This is probably the one I'm most nervous about because I could wreck this gun and I don't even know if it'll feed or not. But I'm also very excited for the results because I want to see if this is actually accurate. So let's go for it. It's not feeding. Whoops, did I knock the laser sight off or something? Because it started shooting to the left after I rewound it. I don't know. But anyways, it is probably not the most accurate, but it's also not inaccurate. So yeah, that's pretty interesting results, and I probably just wrecked the hop-up unit, so I should probably just stop shooting now. So taking a look at the results, we can conclude that the weight of BB does not have a significant difference on accuracy, or impact on accuracy, at short ranges out of the AK-47, which was the, well not AK-47, the AK Beta Spetsnaz, which was the AEG I used. Other than the steel BBs, the group is significantly larger. These two are separate groups, so keep that in mind. Still, this is a very large group compared to this. So, I'm not sure if that had something to do with the hop-up unit, since it was, steel BBs, might have been too heavy. I don't know. And if you'll notice, I did not test the .12s because I was paranoid about those damaging my gun. Now into the 1911 results, you can see we also don't have a significant difference, other than the .12s. .12s had a massive group. This was at about 12-ish feet, keep in mind. But also at short range, the weight of BB still does not affect BBs the accuracy that much. The .28's having the tightest group. .2's having about the same group, actually. .25's just ever so slightly wider. Same with the .3's. But that could have been shooter error because, I'm not perfect. And then here, with the steel BBs, we do have a slightly wider group than most of the others. So I'm still wondering if that has something to do with how the BBs interact with the hop unit. Now, so I was planning to only do this accuracy test. But because these results are not very conclusive, I decided we are going to bring the AK out and shoot at around 50 feet. I will not be shooting any target per se. I will be spraying on full auto, so you can see how close the BBs hit next to each other, but I will not actually be shooting a target. So it'll just give you an idea of the general grouping at 50 feet. Because out to 50 feet is where you're going to start seeing some differences, I hope. I will not be testing the steel BBs out there, because I do not have enough of them, quite frankly. And I do not think they'll make it that far, to be honest, because of how badly the BBs were dropping. And for the aluminum ones, I'll probably be shooting slightly less, because those are bad for environment, something they can't degrade. So yeah. One more thing I forgot to mention, I will not be testing the .12s since I'm shooting out of the AK, which is an AUG. First off, .2s. Just be firing a few full auto bursts at that fence pole. Okay, my hop up is way too high. Hold on. So there you have it. Very, very nice group. Alright, so I think I might have forgot to mention that the ones I just shot with the .2s. Oh gosh, wind. Now I'll be shooting .25 bios. So as you guys can probably see at 50 feet, you have laser beam like accuracy with .25 bios. You could actually tell that the grouping was significantly tighter than the .2s, even though those are already very tight. Now, I think why is because wind. Heavier BBs are affected much less by wind. And I think the wind was sort of beginning to spread the .2s apart while the .25s still stayed together. Let's see if the .28s can do even better. Now for the .28 bios. Let's see if these can do even better than the .25s to handle the wind. There you have it. Just like a laser beam, pretty much the same as the .25s. But that's really because at this range, you can't really get that much more accurate than the .25. It's just shooting laser beams. So, yeah. Generally, these heavier BBs are going to be slightly better for heavier guns. I mean, for harder shooting guns. I'd suggest the .28 would be just about perfect for this gun, shooting around 370 FPS. So now we're going to try the .3 aluminum BBs. See, they do have extra weight, but let's see if that aluminum interaction with the hop-up unit affects it at all. And I do want to mention that if we had even longer range, say 100 feet or 150, that's when you'd really start to see the differences, where the .28s start to really shine. Alright, so now for the TSD aluminum .3s. I will not be shooting as many of these as the plastic ones because they are much more expensive. I have much less of them, and you know they're metal, so I don't want to harm the environment much, since they're not biodegradable. I'm going to tune our hop up just a tiny bit to make sure the BB's dropping does not affect the results. Alright, so as I said, not as many BBs there, but you can get a pretty good idea. They actually, they're about the same as the .2s. I feel like with the hop-up unit and the metal, it just doesn't work as well. So they are not feasible in a game anyways, even if they were as accurate as, say, the .28s. But they're about as accurate as the .2s, not being nearly as accurate as the .25s or .28s. Just as a disclaimer, never use metal BBs of any kind, no matter how light or heavy in a game. They could really hurt someone, and it's bad for the environment and stuff like that. So yeah, never use metal BBs in a game. Use them at home to mess around with. You should still be very careful, but you know, that might be a bit more okay. Alright, so now we're going to test the power by quite simply seeing how deep of a dent it puts into wood. I'll be going from top to bottom, from lightest to heaviest. First off, the .12 out of my KWC 1911 CO2. So let's take a closer look. So when you just look at it, it may seem like there's no difference. If you look at it a little bit closer, you will notice that that damage peaks at the .25, which is right here. It has the largest hole, meaning it went the deepest. It may be hard to tell on camera, but I can definitely tell. Alright, next, your .12 did not make a very large hole. They all went about the same deepness if you just look at it, but you can definitely tell the .25 made the largest hole. Second largest was the aluminum one, .3. I think why that happened was the .25 out of this this particular gun, which is 350 FPS with a .2. The .25 maximized the potential, meaning it had the good balance between the velocity and the weight. Why the steel one didn't do as much is because it's too heavy for the gun, so it wasn't going fast enough to do that much damage. So the aluminum one was still going quite fast, which is why it did so much damage still. But the .25 was just going a little bit faster that gave it that edge, even though it was slightly lighter. Next was the .28, and then the .2, and then the .12. And last would be the steel one. I feel like it sort of looks like, compared to the .12, the steel went a bit deeper, but the .12 made a larger hole. So I'm not sure about that. Too sure about that, but yeah. So these are the results. I think they're quite interesting. Just as a disclaimer, even though here they did not do that much damage, never use metal BBs on the field. They can cause serious injury and will do more damage than plastic BBs to soft human tissue. So yeah. So guys, that's gonna wrap up this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like if you want a part 3 with even more BBs, or if you want me to do another different test. Whoops, there's a screw in there. Come on. But anyways, I will have links in the description below to all these wonderful BBs other than the .12s, because they are not so wonderful. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a nice day. Feel free to ask any more questions below.